Hey, this is Angelica. Welcome to the Juan Words podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, YouTube, juanawords.com. If you listen to an episode and you like what you hear, leave us a review or maybe a comment or two. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hey, and we're back. My name is Angelica Casares. This is my husband, Juan. Welcome to the Juan Words podcast.
Juan Words podcast. Juan Alanis.
So, welcome back. We are excited. I think we're back on a roll for a little bit there. For about 2 weeks, we didn't record anything.
Now we've got episodes episodes that we're churning out. We actually have a queue. So
we have a queue. I don't know what that means, but that sounds good.
Like episodes that are like that are just waiting to be produced and already recorded and everything. So we got content coming out.
Yeah. So today I figured we can just talk a little bit. What are we like? Day 4,595 of quarantine.
God. Yeah, like
Jesus heavens. Yeah, I'm so tired of talking about it. I'm so like frustrated and upset at this point.
But on a serious note, in Houston, I think they're getting pretty bad. Like I think
which is why I'm frustrated.
Yeah, like right now in Houston, I think we're on the road to be the worst affected city in the country.
You know what I thought last time?
Because I think just earlier I was on a call and they were saying that and just from yesterday and today in Texas there were like 5,000 additional cases. In one day. Jesus. So I'm like, that's crazy. Like,
it is crazy. So
it's getting real. It's getting scary.
I'm ready to wear a shirt. I'm ready to print my own shirt that says, just wear the damn mask. I had to hold myself back from saying that yesterday on Facebook. I was about to just go on there and be like, people, put on the damn mask and stop being stupid. No, don't say that. Don't call people stupid.
I'm not calling you stupid. It was just my gut instinct, and I was like, no, I shouldn't say that, so I didn't. But no, I'm just saying, like...
We're not trying to offend anybody. What I'm saying is that I don't know how... Okay, so here's the thing. I was being nosy, right? I was... my niece asked a question on Facebook, right, about like what the symptoms are of coronavirus. And I was like, wait, what? Why is she asking, right? And so I called her, say, hey, did you get are you sick? What's wrong with you? And she's like, no. She was just I keep I'm on Facebook and I keep hearing about people keep getting it, right? And I was like, and so I'm just curious what the symptoms are like at the beginning, just I guess for her, just in case, if she comes in contact with it and stuff like that. And then I was like, and so I went to her feed where she asked the question. And then there was actually a couple of people answering her questions, right? They were saying how they lost taste, how they didn't feel anything else besides like kind of feeling funky. And I was like, oh my God. And here's the thing.
Symptoms are different for everybody.
So here's the thing, Juan, that I don't even want to say, I don't even want to call people out because... it's so difficult to be safe when the numbers are so high and you run the risk every time you leave your house.
Well, I think the thing is I think unless it touches you, sometimes people think it's not real. But then I think now because it's so much more prevalent, like more and more people are having people that they know or at least are closer to them, or connected to them in some way that they're like, oh, that person has it or that person is in the hospital. In some cases the people have passed away, so it's like now it's like you can't deny something that's that close to you, which is unfortunate that you have to wait that long.
Here's the thing though, we run the risk every time. And the thing is that like me and you have even visited a friend thinking that we were being safe. Right. And now I'm thinking, and nobody was there. It was just me, you, her, and her husband. That was it. Right. The whole time, that was it.
No, y los cuatro nos pegamos todo.
Yeah. And we were like right there in close proximity and we were like around each other. And the thing is that, we haven't, my family, during my niece's graduation, some of them got together to have a small barbecue. I didn't even go to that. I was like, I'm not even going to that. I don't want to be around more than a couple of people.
Yeah.
But the first time that I get with somebody, I feel bad. And you run the risk. You run a lot of risk of leaving. And so I don't want to be critical because I don't even know if you know what I'm saying? If we're going to be impacted by it.
Well, we took the test and we came out negative, but the thing is,
that was a few weeks back.
Just because you take the test once and you come out negative doesn't mean that you're never gonna get it, or that you haven't gotten it since you took the test. So that's why I was like, even though
I don't want to be like all smug and be like, yeah, we got tested, we don't have it. For sure not. Like, that's why I was like, I want to avoid that.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't like say because you took the test that you've been negative. Like, because I know that we've been because we've been traveling. Like, I haven't really like wanted to go visit my mom and stuff like that, because I'm like, I know that I've been out. I know that I've been in contact with people, and I don't want to be like, I feel like I'm at the beginning stages of this again, where it's like, okay, I don't want to put people at risk. And I feel like now I'm at that stage again.
We had to have the conversation about like us like reverting right back to what it was before, and we were taking extreme measures. I mean, if you don't know me, I'm that person that I go hard, right? And so I'm doing it again, where I'm wiping everything down before it comes into my house. Boxes, bags stay outside. I wipe everything down. I have Clorox wipes, and we wash our hands before we walk into this house. We have a bucket, like a prepare ready kit bucket of gloves when you pump gas, of like alcohol spray to spray like the ATM little machines where you're ready to touch. And so I'm not trying to be like judgmental, but going back to my niece's post, I went back to the post, and of course people were responding to her. She knows people who've had it. And I was like, how does she know so many people who have it? And so I was going back, and I was like, I'm being nosy, right? So I'm being nosy, Juan. And I'm clicking on these people's profiles to see who they are and what they've been up to. And like, you best believe, yes. And I am up here judging. I'm saying I'm not judging, but I was judging when I was going through those profiles. And like one of them, like I think her kid had just graduated like 5th grade, and she put pictures of him with the cake and a little backdrop, and it was like, oh, thanks to everybody who came out in celebration of my kid's 5th grade graduation. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like, I was judging. I was like, well, why are you having parties? Like, what are you doing? Like, but again, she could have been the safest, person, but I'm judging. I'm so judging everybody. And this is how frustrated I am, that I'm judging everybody.
But the thing is, like, like I get that, but I think the thing is, like, culturally, I think too, for like, that's what people, that's what I hear people saying all the time too, is like, culturally, we all like to, like, for Latinos, we like to get together, we like to have family celebrations and this and that, and
for
that's
everything,
fine. But if it's a risk, is it really worth it? And I think that's the thing, is like, I think that's the thing is like, we hadn't like, I think a lot of us hadn't really realized, like, oh, it is that dangerous. It is that real, or the threat is like, it's like, because you were hearing about it for so long, and I guess the number, like, then you would hear things like, oh, well, the heat in Texas is gonna like obliterate, or it's gonna reduce the risk and stuff like that.
I don't know.
So it's like you hear like all these like weird like theories too. So it's kind of like, and now that the numbers are really increasing, and that you're really starting to see like the effects of things that happened, and how things are going in a bad direction, then it's more realistic to people.
I didn't hear that about like the obliteration of the things. I thought people were going to take measures. So when the states started to open back up, I feel like some people were like, oh, it's open. Like when there was like 25% capacity at some restaurants and to-go orders and whatever.
Some people just don't want to wear the mask. Like
yeah, I understand. But so what I'm saying is that a lot of these people, I think once they opened up, like started opening up the state, people were like going hard. They were like, oh, okay, well, yeah, cool. Yeah. We're open for business. Like all is well. Yeah. Right. And my dodo bird self thought, oh, we're all taking the same precautions. We're all following these same rules. And then it's not until you go to those grocery stores, or a few times where we've had to go for like silly things, right? Well, I don't consider them silly, but for example, like at Becky's Treats, sometimes we can't find them in grocery stores, and I put them in my cart and they don't deliver, but I have to walk in to places where I know they sell them, like Target and stuff like that. And you'll walk into Target and nobody has anything. You walk into like other places and people aren't, it's just, I don't know, like I feel like this is, and it's heartbreaking because I feel like people think this is a joke. You know what I'm saying? And like, and so you feel bad about it, and then, you know, and then like Black Lives Matters happened on top of it, and like just this overwhelming fear of like a lot of things that are happening. And yeah, like people are like, oh well, whoever catches it, and if you catch it, it's your problem, right? And why did I reference Black Lives Matter? I referenced Black Lives Matter because I was like, well, that was out of the blue, right? Because I was upset, right, at people not paying attention to those like things, and then when I started seeing people like rebuttal Black Lives Matters, I just started feeling even worse. I was like, come on, like it's a thing. This isn't coronavirus isn't fake. People like racism isn't fake. And so, and now we're like we're tripling numbers. We're sky high. And it's like, I feel bad like all around, right? And I'm not trying to make like, I don't know. Do you understand where I'm going with this?
Kind of. I mean, I guess you're saying that you feel bad about the situation, but I mean, my thing is like, I think that the way that we have the information is out there on how to prevent this spread from getting worse. Like all we have to do is like actually do the things that they're saying, which are like being careful, wearing your mask, not going out if you don't have to, like not gathering if you don't have to, like not doing all those things. So I think it's not rocket science. It's like follow the guidelines, and then, you know, we'll all hopefully get out of this. Because if we don't, like and then we go into a second round where the entire state has to shut down, like that's not going to be good for anybody.
So I was reading online that people are just, when they're talking about COVID, they're just talking about people who get it, those who recover, and those who pass. What people aren't talking about is the actual effects that even if you survive it, the long-lasting effects that coronavirus can have on your body. Right? People are coming out with respiratory issues, heart conditions, things that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life.
And some people are losing their lives, which like you know, like my cousin's sister-in-law's daughter, like my mom was telling me about that. She was a young girl. She passed away from this. So it's like, it's not only affecting like older people like we thought initially. It's affecting young people now too. It's like affecting everybody. So it's like there's no like somebody said that the coronavirus is still out there, and it's still in the driver's seat, and it definitely is. So I think that's the thing. I guess that's the main thing we're trying to say is like, Texas, we're like, or Houston, we have a problem, right?
Yeah,
like we literally have a problem, and we need to like step up and do our part to fix it.
God, we went dark really fast. That was not my intention.
I don't think that was not my intention. It's the truth of what's happening right now. You know, I think that's the reality. Like, and I think it makes sense that we talk about it, because I think you can't we can't, like, we've talked about coronavirus in the past and we kind of jokingly talked about it here and there, but I think the situation right now is so dire in Houston that it really merits like talking about it in a more serious way.
Yeah, not only here in Houston but the United States. It's getting it's getting under like impactful. It's hard to switch gears with this. It's really hard, but I'm gonna try. Okay. So, I was taking, every time I take a shower, I have these like, random thoughts. And one of those random thoughts that I had was the way the kids are dealing with this.
Oh,
you know, like from like little kids to like older kids. So, we had to travel out to the Rio Grande Valley, and out there, my niece was out there too, because we had a couple of loose ends of things that we needed to do, right? And it was the first time I had seen like my youngest, her youngest son, which is my nephew. It had been months, and this kid had already turned 1 year old. It was like 3 months, and so he, of course, in 3 months, that tiny, he gets bigger, right? And he sees me, and I have a mask on, and he kind of recognizes me. And my niece has been really good about sending me pictures, and sometimes she'll FaceTime me, so he'll see me like in the phone, right? But in real life, so he was confused. He was like, looked at me, and he turned his head like a little puppy dog, and then turned his head again, and now like, so I start making noises to make him laugh and to, whatever, and I'm like getting so much joy out of this. I just want to grab the kid and just hold him so tight, and I couldn't, right? So, but I'm just like making faces at him, and he's like laughing, and every time I see my nieces and nephews, I feel like they put their head down, because so I am like,
they put their head down.
Yeah, well, hold on. So I'm like that aunt who they visit their house. They come over and visit my house. Right? I don't have any young children, but they're the young ones. And so when they come to this house, like, they kind of have free range around here. They get a hold of the TV, Edgar's PlayStation. They get a whole, you know what I'm saying? They have free reign, and I sometimes I have really good food that they like, that they enjoy, whether that be ice cream. Because when you're in a household of a lot of people, the first thing that goes is the good food. Here in this house, we try not to eat it all at once, and so they know that they mangoes, apples, not having bananas. Like, there's a lot of good food, and so they like to come over, and sometimes they'll get dropped off. I'll go pick them up. And so the other day when I went over to my sister's house, Erica's house. Her kids were outside, and like, I look at them like, hey, and they're like, hey, and they like put their head down. And I know what's happening. My mom had called me the other day that my nephew wanted to come over. I wasn't here. But regardless, I just don't think it's safe. And so I was like, and so they just put their head down. Like, you can tell, like, it's like, and every time I see my niece's kids, Christina's kids, all 5 kids, they're always like, can I go to your house? 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 And I'm like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't think it's a safe thing. I don't think we should be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not yet. And I keep telling them that. And so what I meant to say that, yeah, I seen my nephew, and he's the one that had called me. And when I seen him, I like try to wave at him, and you know what I'm saying? And he put his head down like, oh, like, you just come over here and just bother me, and you don't let me go to your house. And they understand, but they don't understand.
Yeah. Like,
they see, like, it was fun at the beginning, right? Where everybody's home. You get to see your friends online. School's out. It's the summer. Are you keeping up with those friends? And those, like, now the teachers are gone, and maybe you might have seen the teacher once or twice in a parade or something, like, or going by the school.
Yeah.
And so a lot of, there's been so much change, right, for these kids. Now, kids their age are pretty resilient, right?
Kids in general, no?
Kids in general.
Pretty resilient.
Typically, younger kids are more so than older kids. Now, we own one of those older kids. We own a teenager who is going into the last year of his high school career.
Right.
And I started writing notes on this, because I was thinking about it again. And I was like, ain't that funny? This is the time right now where social settings and things matter. Right now, it's when they go out to eat, right? You ask money from your parents, you go out to eat, you go to the movies, you hang out at your friend's house, you play games, and you're developing your social skills, right? How are these kids doing it?
Well, they're not. I mean,
they're not. They're not. So a lot of the social skills, like those soft skills, that conversation we had a while back, of like looking at people and trying to like looking at mannerisms and try to decipher like if they are being honest or and of course a lot of it has to do with like this person like me? Does that person like me? And sometimes it can be an interest of a person that you're interested in. You're like, oh, does she like me? Whatever. And I find it hilarious. I find it really funny because they're not doing any hand holding. Tell me, how are you supposed to kiss your girlfriend if you're not seeing your girlfriend?
Well, I was talking to the doctor that I went to go see today, and she was telling me that she has a daughter who just graduated from high school, and she was saying that she was assuming that her daughter was going to be back she was already going to be going to college and this and that. So she was saying now she's like, so now I'm having to kind of rethink like all the rules for the house, because I'm like, if she would have been going to college, if she was in a dorm right now, then she wouldn't have to really check in with me. She didn't have to really tell me what time she was going to be coming home. So now I'm having to think like, well, do I need her to tell me every time she's leaving where she's going? Do I need her to like come home at a certain time? Do I need her to like, she's like, so now I'm having to come up with all these, like, to rethink all these rules that I didn't anticipate I was gonna have to be thinking about, because she wasn't supposed to be here. She was supposed to be off in college. And so it was like, it's like, yeah, like I see that. And then I was talking to Edgar the other day, and he was saying, he's like, I really hope that my senior year is not like all homeschooled, or like not all like.
I feel bad for him.
He was like, I hope at least 1 month of at least he's like, I just want to go to school for 1 month so that I can at least see my friends and hang out, and like we can like interact with each other. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's like,
it's a different, when you're that young, it's a different interaction.
Yeah, and it's different, I guess, and that's one of the things that I think is going to be like, probably going to be like, it's not just that it's different right now, that this generation isn't getting to experiences. I think this is going to be like this, they're the only generation that's gone through this, right? I mean, they're the
no, there's been pandemics and wars, and kids his age like are being like, off to war and stuff like that.
Well, in recent times, like that we can I guess contemporary times, like this is the most, as
opposed to like the Vietnam War and stuff like that, like around those times where they were being.
I mean, I think this generation, these kids that are going through this, it's probably going to be like impactful for a long time.
It is different for them, definitely, because they're still keeping in contact and close communication. Phones are a new thing, right? Yeah. And this wasn't something that existed during the other wars and all that other time. Yeah. And so, but this is a generation that is very much in tune with who they are.
I think that's what I was trying to say, that it was going to be defining of their generation. Yeah. Like this whole thing that's happening to them right now. I think it's going to define like their generation. Like, where people think back to like certain things that happened.
But isn't that crazy? They're all going at it at the same time, so they can go back and have these conversations.
But sometimes you think about like things that happened in your generation, and you like can remember those things. Like, oh yeah, like like I remember
mine was 9/11.
9/11, but I also remember like the Selena dying. I remember the Waco fires. I remember like those are things that happened in my generation that I remember. Like, oh, those were like cool, like kind of occult things in a way that you're like, oh yeah, those things identified or we can identify those things with our generation. Yeah. And I think this is going to be like one of those things that they're going to be
definitely,
or like Y2K. Sure. Remember Y2K? When that was a big thing.
For me, it was 9/11. That had a lasting impact on me. Yeah. More than like the Waco and then the Selena and Y2K.
Well, obviously, there was different, but I'm just saying those are like things that happened like when we were like in your generation or whatever. Like if you
like
were
his age, around his age.
Yeah, like if like it's basically just that, that it's like it was a generational thing. So it was like it defined a generation. So I'm just curious, like kind of what's gonna come out of that, because I mean it's a life, like it's supposed to be like a rite of passage that you graduate, that you have
this is your high school career. You have a big
celebration. You
right, they're missing out on
prom king, prom queen. You can go to, even if you're not prom king, prom you go to games, go to the dances and stuff like that.
You go to games. They do pep rallies to like build people's morals. Like a lot of things happen in school. You know what I'm saying? Like there's this competitiveness that happens, and there's a lot of things that they're having a difficult time navigating, right? And I feel like the younger kids are going to have an opportunity, right? Like my niece's kids that are growing up in this, they're going to go, back to middle school, and they're going to have those years, like they're going to play out those years, right? Edgar's not going to have this opportunity. Like this is it.
But I think that's the thing too. Like, if you could survive this, and if you could go through this experience, I think it's gonna shift, like, maybe the way that you're able to experience things moving forward.
You know what I think they should do?
Because I think it's like, if you can go a year and a half doing school remotely through a laptop, like, then that opens up, I feel like, a whole world of possibilities that you can do online, like, that you maybe didn't think about. Because before, maybe you were just thinking you would get online and you would play video games and you could interact with your friends. But now there's so many other things that you can access, that hopefully their eyes are being open to, like, the technology they're using, the things that, maybe they can, like, be more creative too because of it.
We know that, and they've been creative the entire time. They're still missing out on a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can go back to their devices and get creative, but you have to. And we've had this conversation before, how we talked about this generation is the generation that, when in a work setting, a lot of the times it's, you got a job and that's the job you did. Right? This generation is going to be the generation that collectively works together. And if they're supposed to be collectively working together, I mean, they can do it like online. The idea was that they would be doing it in group settings. Yeah. Right? That they can do it efficiently and faster.
But they can do it now, that with the technology they can still do it, like, work together in teams.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference when you do things in teams online and teams in person.
But I think that's the difference. That may be the difference in our generation versus their generation. Like, I think, like, to us, like, working online,
I guess so,
and working on Zoom is like, there's a disconnect. Like, as opposed to, for them, I think it feels more natural. Like, it doesn't, like, there's a disconnect. I think there's still a disconnect. Like, they think they miss hanging out with their friends, but do I think they miss going to the actual classroom and being in the schools?
Probably not.
Having to wear uniforms and carrying around backpacks? Probably not.
Yeah. I'm sure they're not missing their teachers much, but they're missing their friends a lot.
Because you have to remember, like, we were innovative, like, when we were that age. Like, we, like, remember beepers?
Oh my God, yeah.
When we had beepers, and we would, like, we figured out how to, like, send each other codes and how to, like, do all kinds of crazy stuff with like, just beepers. Yeah. So, I mean, you mean to tell me that, with, like, all the technology they have now, they can't figure out, like, more, like, innovative and interesting things to do than what we did with beepers?
Now that they can actually have communication outside of, like, a landline, a telephone. For sure. Yeah, I sent my friend this picture earlier today. It's a T-shirt from Buc-ee's. So Buc-ee's is a what is it? It's a gasoline station.
One-stop shop, pretty much, when you're traveling and road trips in Texas. Like, people will tell you can't go anywhere without going to Buc-ee's.
Without stopping at Buc-ee's.
And their famed acclaim is saying that they have the cleanest restrooms in Texas.
They have the most and cleanest restrooms in. Okay, so Buc-ee's, this place, I think somebody referred it to. They're like, it looks like a department store, like a big department store that has really nice restrooms and pretty good food. And I was that's probably the
and they have a beaver mascot that everybody recognizes.
Yeah, so Buc-ee's, I sent it. Somebody took a picture and I sent it to my friends, and it's a T-shirt that has writing on it, and it says, "You think it's bad now? In 20 years, our country will be run by people who were homeschooled by day drinkers." Oh. And I was like, that is hilarious. That is, you know why? Because the other day, as I served myself my breakfast, we had those little wine coolers, that Jack Daniel's wine cooler or whatever drink. And I was like, I don't mind having a drink with my breakfast.
No, there's been more than one occasion that I've been like, I'm gonna have a beer with my lunch.
With my lunch, yeah, I know, it's so.
Or a couple beers with my lunch.
Yeah, I think we're so eager to go back to the way things were, that we're like, yeah. Okay, so but what I was also thinking to myself, I was like, maybe this is a good thing that they're not actually getting together, these teenagers, right? Because my assumption is they're raging with hormones.
And those hormones have to go somewhere.
What? The world? Excuse me?
Those hormones don't go away.
I understand. No, but I told you earlier, and I was like, I find this hilarious. Maybe they're not touching each other. Their mothers aren't letting them go anywhere. They're not getting together. And maybe the upside is that there's no teen pregnancies.
I don't know.
Or there are very little teen pregnancies.
Maybe I would say maybe fewer than before, but I think that people are like, I'm like, there's still windows. There's still
opportunities.
There's still opportunity. There's still cars. There's still people are still like.
Or maybe their parents are the ones getting pregnant again. They have a 17-year-old like out the door, or 18-year-old, 20-year-old trying to live life, and then they're like, oh, during quarantine,
new baby on the way.
No, so I was like, oh my god, maybe pregnancies will be down. Maybe that's the upside for them not to getting together.
Yeah, well, maybe that could be a benefit, but no, I think to me the benefit I think is going to be like longer term. Like I hope it's going to be longer term. I hope is that they're going to like do something, like they're going to figure out how to do like more, like innovate more.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And but
how to be able to connect more without having
But I do feel bad for the kids. Like I feel bad. I hadn't really thought about
his age.
I hadn't really thought about the graduates that graduated this year, because I was like, oh, okay. And then until Edgar was like, oh, I don't want to graduate like that, and I was like, oh yeah, like I was like, yeah, that would be kind of bad if you graduated like that.
That would suck. Like to miss your whole year of senior year and graduate like that too. That would suck.
But hopefully that's not the case.